Okay, good evening, guys. How are you doing on this lockdown Sunday? I hope you're doing well. For those of you who are tuning in, thank you so much. Hope you're all well. Hey, Kaz. Hope you're all well and hope you're all keeping safe. We just send lots of love and blessings out to you all. But this evening, we have a special guest that I will be talking to, Dayna Byfield. Hey there, Jenny. And Dayna is a financial wellness educator. And Dayna will be telling us, talking to us about how we can take care of our financial wellness at this time. A lot of us are going through a hard time. So I'm not going to talk too much more about it. I'm actually going to pin the conversation so that you guys, anybody joining in a little while, can obviously know what we're talking about. So just bear with me while I do that. There we go. Okay. Right, so we're going to be talking about taking care of your financial well-being during this COVID crisis. So I think Dayna's with me now. Hello, Dayna. I am going to just add you. Okay. Good. Okay, bear with me, guys. There we go. You should be able to join me now. Hello.
Hi, Queen. Hi, family. How are
Wonderful.
you?
I'm really well, Dayna. How are you?
Absolutely phenomenal. Cannot complain at all.
Good. It's great to see you. Really nice to
Yeah.
see you. I think the last time I saw you was probably a couple of months ago, right?
Yes, in Brixton.
That's right.
The
A
wonderful
wonderful event.
individual
Yeah.
camp.
And that event was all about Black love. But this evening, this is not what we're here to talk about. We are
Yeah.
actually here to talk about financial wellness during this time. So before we get into it, just how are you? How are you doing? How's your family? How are you guys coping, really? Because, they keep saying it's unprecedented times, but it really
Yeah.
is, yeah, it's been tough for a lot of people. So how have you been coping?
Yeah. I mean, I must say, I have this kind of sense of a little bit of guilt almost when anybody asks me how I'm coping. Apart from the fact that anyone that knows me knows that I'm, a socialite. I'm always out mingling, meeting people. So for me, that's really been the most challenging thing. And even, I'm that type of person that sees someone on the street and say hi and strike up a conversation. So that social distancing aspect of things and not being able to kind of, grab people, hug people, that's
Hmm.
been the most challenge that I've had. Actually, all other things being equal, everybody that I personally know is well, hubby's well, kids are well, extended
Good.
family. Unfortunately, we have had some people in our circle who've been adversely affected, either, by being ill themselves. Unfortunately, a couple of people that we know that know other people have lost family members. So it's not to make light of anything that is going on at the moment.
Yeah.
We are definitely living in unprecedented times. But in terms of us as a
So
family,
true.
we're doing really well. Business is great. Business is up. Super busy, and branching out
Wow.
into different areas. So I'm busier now than what I was kind of January, February, and that's one of the things that I wanted to speak about this evening.
Yeah, because that's a real blessing. Because, as I said, this time has affected us all in different ways, and certainly
Mm,
financially, certain people have been really adversely, really badly impacted, you know, whether it be they've been laid off, they've been furloughed and they're getting less pay, or they're an entrepreneur or business person and their business has basically stagnated. You know, there's a lot of adverse impacts. But interestingly enough, there are some people who are actually doing okay and actually doing better than okay during this time. So, you know, it'd be interesting for us to kind of look at both of those situations really, and just discuss, you know, how people can make the most of this time in terms of their financial well-being, whether they're adversely impacted or actually positively impacted.
Yeah, wonderful. So what I want to do before I kind of go into you know, introducing myself and speaking about the topic at hand, if anyone does have any comments, questions, queries, want to throw down a like, please do so, because this isn't about us utilizing this as a platform.
Definitely.
So, yes, part of my career is talking about money. I definitely didn't come from a background where that was the order of the day. I grew up in a single parent family, so money was always tight. Mum did the best she could, but you know, it was a stretch to make ends meet. I had my first baby at 18. I became a single mum at the age of 20, and I experienced homelessness in my early 20s.
Wow.
So the lowest kind of point, probably emotionally and financially for me, was being evicted from the home that I lived in. I had a small child, and all of my worldly possessions outside of the house on the front lawn, kind of thinking, how did I get here? And that's where my journey started, making a decision. You know, it was a fork in the road moment. Am I going to repeat itself, or am I going to be different? So I decided to do something different, and I didn't know what that looked like. I just decided that I was going to get books, read them. So you see stacks of books behind me. That's kind of how our house is. And the central thing for me was I wanted to find out what were people talking to their children about at the kitchen table.
Right. Okay.
What were they thinking, talking about? What were they doing? Because clearly, obviously, what was happening in our household wasn't leading us to where we would necessarily want to be. So I realized that wealthy people have businesses, they got their money working for them, not just work hard for money, and they had multiple flows of income coming from lots of different places. They didn't have a job, and there's nothing wrong with having a job. It was quite clear to me at that time in life that I needed to learn how to put a system in place that would be able to pay me regardless of whether I was able to be out and economically active.
Right. Okay.
Fast forward, I've had a very varied career, very varied business career. I started my first business 14 years ago, but it was up and down. So I kind of went in and out of business.
But if I just pause you there, so you went, you know, obviously you faced quite a bit of trauma from an early age in terms of your life and the things that you experienced. But how, it's not often that people kind of take that and say, right, they're absolutely determined, or it's difficult for people to kind of take that, especially at a young age, and say they're absolutely determined to turn this around, make a positive change, and really start to delve down into everything and analyze it, which by the sound of it you did. What was the moment that prompted you to say, right, there's got to be a way, and I'm going to find out what the way is?
The day I got evicted and I stood on the front lawn with my child and all my worldly possessions, I had no idea how I was going to move that furniture from the front lawn, and it ended up in my mum's garden for 2 days, and we prayed that it wouldn't rain. And that was the moment where I realized that things really needed to change. I didn't know how they were going to change, but I utilized the resources that were at my disposal, and there was always something in me that told me that I was destined for more than what my current circumstances were. So it was going horribly wrong. It went even more horribly wrong after that decision was made, as life has it. So I've, you know, failed at more things than I've ever been successful at. And I'm always quite honest about that. It's been a very up and down road. But I utilized...
So you say 14 years ago, right? You started your first business 14 years ago. Okay, so tell us just a little bit about that then.
Yeah, so I always loved people. People always came to me for advice. I was kind of the willow tree that people would come and sit under when they had challenges or they needed to find something or find somebody. So I started a coaching consultancy, ACP Coaching, 14 years ago, and that was great for a time until I realized that everybody wanted to come and see me, and I wanted to have a system in place where it wasn't about me. So I decided to kind of come out of that, and I've done everything from sell shoes and handbags. In my kind of mid to late 20s, I was taken on by an organization to do client liaison and build their client base, because they were actually an educational institution. I've been executive director for a housing association. I was one of the youngest non-executive directors in the country at the time. Wow. There were very few Black women, and, you know, totally unheard of for people who had learning disabilities. Don't like that term, but people understand what that means. Growing up, I almost had a double disability, because I sound so much like everything's together. Get me to speak and I'm cool. Give me a mic, you know, get me to coach somebody, but ask me to write down simple instructions on essay, all goes wrong. And when I was a non-executive director, when I stepped down from that position, the organisation, the Housing Association, had a surplus of 269.6 million. So I've done lots of different things in terms of businesses and working in different places and having different experiences. One of the things that I really wanted to implore people to think about at this time, because, you know, we're surrounded by doom and gloom, and there is a lot of it about, but we do need to be thinking and talking about tangible solutions about how we move forward. But I think based on what I've seen over the last 2 weeks, you know, what's Kaz saying? Phone sound is off.
Phone sounds off. Whose phone? My phone, Kaz.
Can we get some thumbs up or some hearts if
everyone
can hear us?
Yeah, you guys hearing us okay? Kaz, you said the phone sounds off. As in you can't hear us, or? Guys, can you let us know? Because I can hear you okay, Dayna, and you can hear me okay, but if, yeah.
Okay, lovely. Lovely. Yeah, so over the last 3 weeks, there's been
brilliant
an explosion of webinars, Zoom meetings, you know, accountants, financial professionals, lots of different people talking about the stimulus packages that are available. They're saying it's echoing when I'm speaking.
I wonder why that is.
Is that any better? Oh no. Okay.
Have you got headphones by any chance?
No.
Oh dear.
I will try.
Is that any better? There's feedback. We are not close at all for there to be feedback.
Okay, that is really strange. I will do the best that I can and try not to speak too fast. Is that any better?
Hey guys, is
better?
Is that any better with Dayna speaking?
Okay, what I will do is
should we try again?
Yes, so I'll speak a little bit slower. Apologies. So there have been lots of, you know, information shots going out, webinars, seminars on specific details, packages that are available, financial support, stimulus packages, you know, and what the government's offering. So someone say move your phone back a bit more. Hang on one sec. This is what life is all about. So things don't always go planned, but we make the best of what we have. Okay.
We make the adjustments, don't we?
Exactly. We're making the
okay, guys, give us a bit of feedback. So Dayna, you've moved your phone back just a little bit, right?
Yes.
And any better?
We'll crack on and then we'll see what happens. So what I don't want to do this evening is kind of rehash a lot of the information that is already in the public domain, because a lot of that information is about what people who are in very vulnerable positions, you know, don't have an income, etc., we can Google that information. What I want to do this evening is help people really solidify and make a mindset shift. Now, we're not making light of the scenario and situation as it is now. many
Yeah.
people have been adversely affected, either financially, with their own health, or with other people's health, and lost loved ones. We know
Yeah.
that is the case, and we take that seriously. But
Yeah.
at the same time, history has proven to us that recession and downturns are the biggest and best opportunities. So that's what I want to talk about with
Yeah.
you this evening. Now, I'm sure that just like myself, many of you would have heard this word that's banding around called pivot, you know? So pivoting. So what does that mean? It really means oscillating from one point to another. What the situation really has highlighted for 99% of people is that we were just going along with our lives as they were, assuming that the status quo would remain. And
do you know what? On that point, I just want to come in on that point because you're so right. We have been so conditioned to this system that we live in, so intertwined in this system that we live in that we don't even realize it. So now the system has been thrown up in the air and it's all topsy-turvy and upside down. It's so uncertain, and it's really now exposed actually this system that we so rely on, we actually day to day we don't even question, but this system is more fragile than we know. And how, you know, I mean, in terms of getting food, in terms of generating an income, in terms of having access to healthcare, all the realms are, you know, the ramifications are just huge. But we are trapped in this system that we just go along with day to day, every day, blah, blah, blah. This has really been a time where we've had to take stock. Well, certainly for myself anyway, take stock and say, oh my gosh, you know, what if this was to become the norm? Yeah. How would you survive? What would you do? So yeah, sorry, go on.
No, that's fine. You know, that's what this is about, us conversating. Now, I believe to a certain extent that this is the new norm. I feel that for at least the next, 6 months to 2 years, there's going to be some form of social distancing in place. And we have to look at this for what it is. Because right now, there is a huge transfer of wealth going on in the world that most of us are not part of and are not particularly privy to, because we haven't made it our business to be. But I think more now than ever, people are open to the idea that actually we need to change our thinking. Because when money, like I've said, information is in the public domain about what people can support themselves during COVID-19. My focus when I'm speaking to people, when I'm speaking to my clients, when I'm business planning with my family, our focus is very much on where are the opportunities? Because in any downturn, there are going to be winners and there are going to be losers. And I think that for a lot of people in many different areas, including financially, including their family, all these parents at home pulling their hair out with their children, because effectively they can't parent their children are with somebody else 6 to 8 hours a day, and now they're having to deal with that issue. So I'm encouraging people to look at the resources that you have already at your disposal. What collaborations and what opportunities can you effectively utilize and create? Because I personally believe, apart from our innate spiritual self, the most valuable thing that we have is the connectivity to each other. And I've also been imploring people to allow social distancing to allow you to become distant from people. Because all successful people
who serve no purpose, right? Those people who serve no purpose in your life, who, maybe you've struggled to separate yourself from, or you've questioned, you've now got this time to actually think about that.
Exactly.
And take the opportunity to actually distance yourself and really think about the people, the company you surround yourself with.
Exactly. And normally we're so busy going from one thing to another, we don't have time to think. And that's the game, to keep us from not being able to think. So
yes, indeed.
Right now, platform. So we've got people in our network who are social media influencers, for example. Now, what would happen if Instagram was to close down tomorrow? You've got clients, data, all on a platform. You don't own, you don't control, you don't have access to. If they shut you down tomorrow,
That's right. Someone just said actually to keep us distracted. That's what this is all about. Like you said, we just keep going, to maintain the distraction, so we don't start to critically think and question and think about other ways of doing things that actually have much more benefit and sustainability, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So I invested 10 years in, as I said, learning everything that I could about money, personal finance, and business. And I also spent half a decade teaching people about money and finance. So I've moved away from that one-to-one client facing now. But actually, yes, we do need the financial literacy. Yes, we do need the information. But I'll give you an example. So in the States, 40 million people have purchased Rich Dad Poor Dad, okay? But there are only 11 million millionaires. So if it was just about the information, everyone would get the information and use it, and we'd go off. Unfortunately, information doesn't lead to transformation, okay? Now, what you believe about yourself dictates everything around you.
Come on now.
Yourself, the relationships you have, the money you earn. So we have to have a psychological and emotional self-esteem when it comes to money. So for us to get better with our money, and obviously we can't do anything, COVID-19 has happened. We can't do anything about that now. But we can start thinking about building towards the future. Because some people, they've been part of for the millennial generation, we've been part of two financial crises. 2000, COVID, 2019 stroke 2020, okay? The old model, the old system is broken, it doesn't work, and it is no longer fit for purpose. And we can't carry on this treadmill where we've got maybe one main income, or 3 or 4 side hustles alongside our main job, and thinking that is going to be fit for purpose, because that's proven that it is no longer fit for purpose. So my thing,
and it can't be sustained. I think it's the long term. It's the long term that you're talking about. How do you sustain it? And I'm sure that there are many people out there at the moment who are questioning themselves and saying, how can I make the transformation? And they I guess there's lots of people who feel like they don't know where to start. Information is key, and you're absolutely right. Nobody can say that the information isn't out there, because it is. It's accessible to all. So you talked a bit about that information to transformation. How do you do that? Like, what tips can you give people to say, you've got the information now, how are you going to use it? We touched on mindset, critical.
What we need to start doing as individuals is understanding 2 things. One, that the function of who you are now is directly correlated to the environment which you were brought up in, for better or worse. Actually take a forensic look at that environment and whether the things that you learned and you picked up are serving you. You want to keep the things that serve you, and you want to dash away the things that don't work for us anymore. Because most people have a poverty mindset, no matter how much money they earn, because they spend it all before they get more money. That is a poverty mindset, because we all understand that we should put some aside today for tomorrow, but we don't do it because our identity hasn't told us, doesn't reinforce the fact that actually we're going to be able to stockpile our money, and we're going to be able to grow our money and get money working for us. The most powerful thing that we have is our subconscious. What we do is directly related to our identity, as we said. Someone who wants to get fitter and healthier, you can do all the exercise in the world, you can lose all the weight in the world, but 95% of people regain it because their identity hasn't changed.
In here, basically, right? It hasn't changed.
You get all the information in the world, that's not going to lead to any type of transformation. So kind of a couple of tips that one can do. One of them sounds really, really, really easy, but self-affirmation. So whatever it is you want, if you want a certain income, then you speak as if you already have that income. So your help is saying discipline.
Discipline, yeah.
So I don't actually agree. I don't think that discipline as a concept exists. I think there are people that are driven and not driven, because we've all had a time in our life when we wanted to do something. We weren't sure how we were going to do it, but we were compelled by something inside us, and we found a way. When you have a burning desire, you will just go through whatever you need to grow through. Yeah,
That's
whether it
right.
hurts or whether it doesn't, you will just go through it
That's
and do
right.
what you need to do. So motivated people who are intrinsically have that desire, they will find their way to the next stage.
That's
Okay?
right. Deanna said attraction as well. So attracting
Definitely.
what you want, and that starts with those affirmations, doesn't
Yeah,
it? If
I
you
believe
speak it,
in
you have to
manifestation.
believe it. You have to manifest it. You have to believe it, and actually act like you said, as if you already have it. So
Yeah.
if you've asked for a certain, income, behave like you already had it, or your whatever your aspirations are. And there are lots of tools that can help actually with that. Vision boarding is one of them, definitely, that I believe in strongly.
Yeah.
So there are different ways and means that people can go about shifting their mindset and really truly believing in the capability for them to achieve true wealth for themselves.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Somebody else has mentioned visualization. Now, if you look at elite athletes, visualization is part of their training. They will
Mm-hmm.
think about the race. They will think about every single stage. They'll think about becoming an Olympic champion. Now, these things are free, but unfortunately, if you haven't been fertilized, as I like to say, in an environment where that was the order of the day, it takes then putting a habit in place and a system in place that could be as simple as, 9 o'clock every morning for 2 minutes, I visualize how my day is going to go. I visualize
Yeah.
when I'm, like I already have the income that I want. And what that does is it starts to program your subconscious. And
Mm-hmm.
when I started to look into things like manifesting, I thought, it was a bit airy fairy, not really sure about that. But I said, you know what? If the wealthy people are doing it, let me try it. And then if it doesn't work, I can blame them and say, well, I learned from them. They're obviously crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So again, Coach Carl is saying discipline. I don't believe in that as a philosophy. When you are compelled by a vision, when you are compelled by an inner drive, I always say to parents, if your child or a child that you loved got their foot stuck in a drain and there was a car coming, you wouldn't start triangulating whether you could run 100 meters in 10 seconds. You just run.
Right. Okay.
It's safe
Yeah. Yeah.
because you've got that
Mm-hmm.
intrinsic motivation.
That's right. Coach Carla says even when it's painful, so you would.
Exactly. So I think when we feel that we have to be disciplined, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do certain things on a consistent basis to condition ourselves. But when you speak it as if it is already here, your mind cannot tell the difference. If you think about, not think about the challenge, but think about the triumph, as far as your mind is concerned, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as Usain Bolt thinking and visualizing through the next 100-meter race, thinking and visualizing the start gun going off, getting up from his stride, high lane,
It's interesting. It's interesting you should say that, because how I would equate it to is when, I often dream, and in the dream is real. In the dream,
yeah,
your mind believes every single thing that's happening in that dream. And sometimes when you wake up, for a few moments, you believe that actually happened. So you could, for example, but I've heard people talk about this, they dreamt their partner did them some wrong, and they wake up in the morning actually angry.
yes,
It's the same concept. If you really condition your mind to believe, your mind will not know the difference. We have that capacity. We need to harness that capacity. And there's so many steps to.
Yeah, the more in your conscious mind, so the more you say to yourself, I'm a winner, I'm financially independent, I have a 6-bedroom house with a driveway, I have a fountain and my kids have got a trampoline in the back garden. When you actually go to sleep, you go through several different phases. One of them is theta, and we will all be able to recognize around us examples of the theta state. Children, up until about 7, they kind of believe anything. So
yes.
that deep theta sleep.
Tooth fairy, Santa Claus, all of that.
There you go. You can't tell them they're not going to scale Mount Everest tomorrow. And they exist in that theta state for the first 7 years approximately, so that they can learn everything they need to learn to exist and survive. So when we go to sleep and we start to dream, our mind starts to work on all of the things that we've been through in that day, all the thoughts that we've had, everything in our subconscious and our conscious goes to work. So sleep is a really important part of anything we want to do as well, because it allows the mind to fertilize and to actualize what it is that we want, which makes it much easier for us to take those actions that we need. So if we think of ourselves as someone who already has an amount of wealth that we choose, whatever the number is, or a way that we want to live, where we want to shop, how we want to eat, how we want to spend our leisure and free time, we want to holiday, the mind knows no difference. And do
you know what, just on that point as well, we spoke about prior to this, we spoke about poverty mindset, right? And so, you know, I absolutely practice exactly what you're talking about, and have seen it work for myself, manifesting, you know, and visualizing, and there has to be action behind it. But for some people, there's this disconnect. So because they still have that poverty mindset, there's this disconnect where you're saying, if you want a 6-bedroom house, say that you want that. If you want, if you want to be a millionaire by the time you're X, Y, Z, say that. Some people have this disconnect in their mindset where they don't think it's okay within themselves to affirm those things or ask for those things. It's almost like the idea of that doesn't marry with who they see themselves as. You know, and that's a real challenge for some people.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And that was a challenge for me, standing on the front lawn, broker than a joke, had to stash my stuff in my mother's house. But I had to make a decision that I was at least going to give it a try. And for me, I started with listening to positive, motivational things online. I'd buy tapes, etc., when I got some more money. So the first thing you have to do is make a decision that you are going to at least give it a try. I don't like that word try, but we all understand that.
Okay, so how about this? You are at least going to invest in yourself.
Exactly.
Rather than giving it a try, because that's essentially what you're doing. You know, if you don't invest in yourself, how can you expect anyone to invest in you, or any kind of possibility for investment to flourish from there? You've got to start from within, right?
So that will be the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is shift your network. Who are you around? You are the sum total of the 5 people that you spend most of your time with, whether you like it or not. And you'll never out-earn plus or minus £30,000, more or less, than the 5 people that you spend your time with. I mean, now we're in social isolation, but environment is anything. Environment is this live. Environment is finding an online group and a community where people are talking about, you know, the fact that, you know, they want to empower themselves and their families, you know, financially or otherwise. So being able to take a forensic analysis and say, are the people that are around me serving me? And also, am I serving them? It's not a one-way street, because it's really challenging to outgrow your environment. There's a saying, if you put an A student in a class with C students, they become a C student.
Wow.
A C student in a class with A students, they become an A student. Because you grow into whatever your environment is.
So true. And you know, a good friend of mine, Tanisha, who will be on the show in a few weeks' time, actually said that you don't try and be the best in the room. No. That's for those who are trying to be the best in the room. That's where you go wrong. You want to be in a room where there are people better than you. Why? Because you will want to get to where they are and keep on going. So just exactly, you know, in terms of what you said, it's about your environment, it's about who you surround yourself with, it's about the people that you're with, right? And if you put a C student into an A class, that student is going to get that A. So rather than saying, I'm going to be the best in the room, no, want to surround yourself, always striving for better, and that will just become momentum of your life all the time.
I think Deanna's saying you must explain to people how to ask. Some people ask the wrong way and keep attracting what they don't want. That is so true. So when you're asking, or when you're speaking as if rather things are already in existence, it should always be a positive. So never, I don't want to be broke. It should always be, I have X, or I want X. The thing that I find, though, typically for most people to get emotionally connected to anything, you kind of have to tell them at least 5 to 7 times, because it kind of has to move to your head, then to your heart, and then to your hand, so you can actually hold it. And for some of us, we actually need to ask the wrong way for us to then learn, actually, I need
the right way
a little bit more specifically, or fine tune it, but definitely always in the positive, affirmative, as opposed to I don't want. So before I met my husband, traditionally I'd been saying, I don't want somebody who's like this, I don't want somebody who's like that. And I changed it to, this is the character traits that I'm looking for.
that you want, that you're looking for.
I want, and I was able to manifest the husband that I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Carla said, you know, we need to watch our language, and that's so true. And Coach Carla's going to be on the show next Sunday, by the way, with Kaz. So we're looking forward to having her on to talk about her coaching business and vision boarding. But, you know, we definitely need to watch our language, what we put out there, because, you know, as you say, thoughts become words, and then once the words are out there, you can't pull them back, and actually they reverberate in the universe. I strongly, strongly believe that. So we need to be careful about just the narrative we have about ourselves, our situation, and our surroundings, and shift that. So like you said, you know, before you met your husband, you were saying, I don't want somebody like this, I don't want somebody like that. But actually changing that to the positive, I think that's a really, really, really valuable key point, and a takeaway from this is about how you say things, right?
Yeah, just wanted to break just to see if anybody else has got kind of more questions or comments at this time. Just have a little scroll through and see, just to make sure we haven't missed. So yeah, don't be afraid to want more, because as you were saying, Janelle, sometimes there are some people that feel that, you know, am I worthy of more, or, you know, people like me, or do X. Again, that's about the identity that we have. So I'm going to be doing some work the next 6 weeks with a few groups of people to actually transform the identity that they have, so that they can get to the place they want to be. It doesn't mean that they're in a bad place. There are many people that are doing very well financially. You know, they earn a lot of money, they take wonderful holidays, they have a great social life, but they spend their money. So their transformation is actually, I want to hold on and keep hold of more. So how do I do that? I'm broken. No, language plays a key part. Eating healthy and maintaining hydration, for sure. It's very
because that is your brain. It's your mind, isn't it? And you've got to take care of your body and your mind and your spirit, so that you know you can flourish. If you don't take care of all of those things, then you're already at a loss before you've even started, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Look at the universe as a catalogue. Just order. I love that. Order and accept. The ordering is your actions, and obviously we can't just think positively, you know, speaking it into existence. There has to be some tangible action. But
I just want to touch on something actually that Carla's just picked up on. She said she's finding she's saving more during this time, and for those people who are fortunate enough to still be earning, and still be, you know, in a job, or whatever it is, still having an income from their business, or whatever you're doing, a lot of people will find that they're saving more at this time, because you're not really traveling to work, or wherever you're going to meetings. You're not really buying that latte, or, you know, that nice sandwich from Pret, or whatever it is. You're now actually at home and forced to cook for yourself. There's nothing open, so you're not socializing, you're not going to the pub, you're not going out to nice dinners or entertainment, theatre, concerts, whatever it might be. So for a lot of people, they've actually got more money in their pocket at this time.
And
so how can instead of having more money in your pocket and then lockdown's over and it's like it's gone, what tips would you give to people to actually you know, make use of that extra cash? How can they actually do that at this time? What kind of things should they be thinking about?
I mean, the first thing is to really take inventory of everything that's coming in and going out. There will be, I'll be able to suggest some literature. I'll hold on to that quote there. Remind me if I forget. Take an inventory of what's coming in, what's going out, so you know exactly what you should have left in your hand. Okay. Now, there are several priorities that when I was working one-to-one with clients, I would always say that they had. So the foundation is really making sure that you have the protection in place that you need. That could be your buildings and contents. So if your house fell down, you know, you could look after that. And very importantly, what's coming to the spotlight at the moment is people's kind of life insurance, serious illness cover. People are talking about those things. If you haven't got those things, or you haven't had a review of those in the last 6 to 12 months, you need to get a review or put those things in place. So that's the first thing. Some of that money may go to putting those things in place or topping up what you already have.
Right, okay.
Reasons why a lot of people have found themselves in extreme difficulty during this time is because they don't have adequate cash reserves. So what do I mean by that? Yeah. Now, we've all probably heard of an emergency fund, you know, rainy day fund, as our grandparents always used to call it. Put down money for a rainy day. So if your expenses are, you know, basic expenses are £2,000 a month, ideally you would have 3 to 6 months money in your rainy day fund. So
that's right.
If you haven't got 3 months, 6 months in your rainy day fund, resist the temptation to start investing in one bag of things. I've had so many people coming to me, oh, should I invest in this? Should I invest in that? So-and-so's offered me a you know, Forex course or Bitcoin or whatever. But all of that, deal with, when you're building a house, you need to build a foundation.
I need to stop you just there, because I love what you said, because I have heard all of this buzz as well. Oh my gosh, the markets, you know, they've crashed. It's such a good opportunity to buy stock. You should invest. Don't just let these guys, you know, these kind of wealthy people kind of benefit from it. We should be benefiting from it too. But actually what you've said is totally right. You can't just, like, it's almost like trying to run before you've even started to crawl, right?
Now,
you've got to build a financial foundation and understanding.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. You've got companies like Boeing who make aircraft for most of the airlines globally, governments globally, whose share price has tanked. So it is a great time to be looking at those things. That's only if you have the rest of your house in order. There's no point investing in the stock market or Bitcoin or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying those things are not valid. Do your research, do your due diligence, get a professional mentor to work with you and help you in that regard also, I would always say. It doesn't mean that it's not true. Is it true for you? That's the main thing. People will come to me, oh, is this a good thing to invest in? I always say to people, be very wary of people that come rushing up to you saying, invest in this, invest in that, because they've got no idea what your personal circumstances are. Just because you might have 10 grand in cash in your bank, it doesn't mean that 10 grand is spare. Because if the worst happens and your income gets knocked out for 6 months, what are you going to do? One of the reasons why
so true. Sorry, I was just going to say that 6 month thing that you touched on again. You're talking about having that 6 month blanket, right? Making sure that's in place before anything else. Yeah,
that's in an ideal scenario. We say 3 to 6 months. I always say, give yourself an initial target of £1,000. Do what you need to do. Take on extra work, sell some stuff, do whatever. Go and put your services on Fiverr. Give yourself a target of £1,000, because for most people that's achievable. Because other people, they might think, oh, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to save 6 months. £1,000 is better than zero, because your average family in the UK can't lay their hands on £400 cash, which is why COVID has hit so many people
really badly,
because there's no cash reserves. So there might be something that is true, but is it true for you? So make sure your house is in order, make sure your protection is in place, make sure you're topping up that emergency fund. You've got spare money, which a lot of people do. Now, once that's taken care of, and you'll decide whether 3 months, 6 months, 12 months is right for you, but at least 3 to 6 months. Once you've got that sorted, the next floor up to really look at is getting rid of any debt. Yeah, especially expensive consumer debt, credit cards, store cards, loans, that type of thing. That you're paying a percentage of interest on. That is money that could be going into your pocket.
That's really good advice. Really good advice for people.
Yeah. Then once you've sorted out all of those things, then you can start thinking about investing when your house is in order. And I would always encourage people to be looking at opportunities to maximize earning additional income streams. If COVID-19 has taught us anything, it's that we need to have different flows of money coming in from different places. So
That's
Carlos,
right. You can't just...
would you recommend taking a mortgage holiday? So here's just my personal thought on the mortgage holiday. One, why do you think they've called it a mortgage holiday? Because everybody likes to take holidays. If you take holidays, the money has to be paid back. I had a client that rang me recently and said, yeah, but I'm just kind of thinking about it. You know, he's got a wife, he's got 2 kids. I'm trying to kind of manage my money. So I said, well, what happens in 6 months if something really did hit the fan and you need it then and you've already taken it? I'm a firm believer in the fact that just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean that you should do it. If you've got money to pay your mortgage,
pay it. I think it goes back to your point, right? Do what is right for your situation.
Exactly. If there was no mortgage holiday offered, you'd still be paying it. Because either you're going to have to pay an increased amount every month, or you're going to add time on to the end of your mortgage, which means it's going to cost you more money in the long run. And one of the things that wealthy people never do is increase their fixed costs unless it's absolutely necessary. Because that means I have to work harder, I have to do more, I have to work for longer in order to pay something back to somebody else.
So true. So true.
Making enough money off us. I told all of my people straight, pay your mortgage. If you're really having an issue, then of course the facility has been given to you. But let's keep this whole thing in context. I believe the reason why the government has offered any stimulus package to the populace at large, especially business or entrepreneurs, is one, so that there's no riots, and two, because where does all the money end up anyway? It ends up back in the hands of the 5%. So people set salary, they've been furloughed, and they are grateful, and they should be, for that 80%. What do? They pay the mortgage company, they pay their rent, they pay Sky TV, they pay Netflix. Last time I checked, you didn't own Netflix, you didn't own Sky, you didn't own Apple, you didn't own none of those people. So all the money still ends up back in the same hands, which are the 5% who have learned how to get their money actually working for them.
So true.
So the business is getting a double stimulus package directly from the government, and then our money ends up going back to them anyway.
Back to them as well.
So once you learn how to do what big business does, and let the money come back to you. But the first starting point is make sure your house is in order. So I have a client that spoke to me a couple of days ago who said, you know, I've got an extra £300 to £400 a month. Like, what do you think I should be doing with it? And I hope you all have got a pen and paper, because this is some real gem I'm about to drop in. I said to her, go to the following website. It's called Money Chimp, as in chimpanzee, Money Chimp, CHIMP, and find the compound interest calculator. So that's Money Chimp,
Money Chimp
calculator, right?
Okay.
I said to her, put in £300, what you're going to start with. Yeah, every year you're going to add an additional £3,600, and then come back and tell me what you'd have in 20 years. Because we look at money in isolation. We look at it in £300, £3,000, or £30,000. We're not looking, because most of us weren't brought up in that environment, what that could grow to be. So we spend now, and there's nothing wrong with spending. Live your life, do what you want to do. If you want to get ahead financially, some of that money needs to be working for you in other ways other than you going to work, for example, or having a property portfolio. Because a lot of people now that are in property, they're having issues because the tenants can't pay. So if you've got different flows of money coming from different places, actually go and check what could that money do for you over 5, 10, 20, 30 years if you actually put it to use. And £300 is a really great amount, because most people, if they actually put their mind to it, even if they didn't have a spare £300, they could go and earn £300.
Sure.
Yeah. The 25-year-old invested £100 a month from the age of 25 to 65, getting a 12% return every year, By the time they're 65, they'd have over £1.16 million.
Whoa, can you just repeat that, please, Dayna?
So a 25-year-old
Yeah.
was investing £100 a month between
Right.
the ages of 25 and 65, and they would retire with a retirement fund of £1.162 million. That's £100.
Whoa. Whoa. Yes, Deanna, I agree with you. Whoa.
That's
That's
£100.
insane. Do you know what? You've just said something that not even I've not ever thought. I have thought about long-term investment, but the way you've just broken it down right now, never thought about it like that. And it's astounded me, to be honest.
So somebody else is asking.
Someone said, yes, please repeat.
If you had a 25-year-old that invested £100 per month, so they put it into an investment fund, and it was earning 12%. By the time they were 65, they would have just over £1.162 million. There is no excuse in this day and age, whilst every single person cannot retire at 65 being a millionaire. But the fact is that most of us are not around people that do that, and we don't have that as our identity. So we need to make an identity transformation shift, and also have the practical information so that we know what to do.
So I know the question that's going to be pressing on a lot of people's mouths is, okay, so you put if say for example you put your money in the bank, we know the interest rates aren't great. How do you, so there we go, we've got a question from Anna that says, where can I invest at 12%? That's my question. Where am I going to find that opportunity? Who do I have to go to? Where can I find it?
That is a fantastic question, and one that I get a lot. Here's my standard answer. That's something that a professional would need to speak to you about on a one-to-one basis. We can't go into that on a live, but I'm going to give you an idea of a couple of places indicatively where you can get 12% return. If you want to hear the rest, then you'll need to contact me offline, and we'll deal with that.
Yeah, and we'll give you your details at the end, by the way, all your details, right?
By the first place that you're going to get in excess of a 12% return is by investing in yourself, okay? I know it sounds like airy-fairy. Ask yourself how many non-fiction books you've read in the last 12 months. The average CEO reads 60+ books a year.
A year, that's right.
To make new decisions, they must have new information. So if you're not spending any money, are you investing your time on a daily basis, learning a new skill? Are you developing your emotional EQ, or your sales skills, or your parenting skills? Are you looking at business opportunities? Are you looking at collaborating? Investing in yourself will always give you the greatest return. We often look at people who are successful and think, they're just born like that. It's lucky for them. No, they've been consistently investing in themselves over a long period of time. And like money, it starts to compound. But we have to issue patience, because it takes time for what we are learning to filter and become part of us.
And you've mentioned it a couple of times, compound. Correct me if I'm wrong, but just for those people who might not understand that philosophy, what compound means.
Yes.
When you get interest,
the
next year you're earning interest on the interest that you've already got. That's compounded.
It could be the next day or the next month.
Well, the next day, the next whatever it is. But the concept of compound is you're actually earning money on the money that you've earned on your money.
And then earning money on the money.
And then earning more. Exactly. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on.
And on. And even if you dropped an amount of money in an interest vehicle and you never put any more money in again, because you earn money on the interest, on top of the interest, on top of the interest, you go back in 5 years and you'll have more, 9 times out of 10, than what you put in, even though there's no extra money that's going in, because somebody else is utilizing that money and getting it working for them. So you get a profit share, essentially. That's what I like to think of. So earning money without actually having to go out and actively earn it. The worst way to earn money is exchanging your time. The best way to earn money is get that money working for you.
Can you just repeat that bit as well? Because I think that's really important, and to break it down. And actually during this COVID crisis, that makes absolute sense. Using your time to earn money is not the best way.
No, because
so going up to job or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah, because the most precious resource you have is your time. Once it's gone, you can't get it back. You lose some money, you can get it back. You lose your hair, you can grow it again. Time is the only thing that you can possibly not get back. And when you have to go out to work for money, you have to keep doing that, going out and going out and going out. And the minute you're no longer able to go out and work, COVID-19 scenario. So a lot of people
That's right.
Now, I need to do something different. The best way to make money is with money, because the amount of money can get larger and larger. And of course, yes, there's risk, and there is nothing that's risk-free. Anybody tells you that something's risk-free, them lying. Tell them I told you them lying.
Definitely not risk-free, but I think also, just to add to that point, you have to have an abundance mentality, and with that abundance mentality, you may actually lose some along the way, because you know, you might embark on a business and it may not do so well, so you try something else, etc., etc. And you have to be prepared to lose to gain, right? You have to accept that feeling.
You know, won every football match or won every dance competition. Listen, failure is a part of life. That's how you succeed, because you fail.
That's right.
That's how you succeed, because you then learn, you change, you get advice from other people, you get coaching, you get mentoring, you fall flat on your behind, and you pick yourself up and you go again. And
that's right.
Investing in all of those things is the same. That's why people shouldn't be using their last penny to go and invest, because you could lose or get less back than what you put in.
Kaz says that the live only gives us 1 hour. How long? I feel like we've been chatting for just like 15 minutes or so. So educational and so inspiring. So Kaz, give me a time check, because I can't see the time. How long have we been on for, honey? What's the time? Yep, Carlo, abundance mentality. While Kaz is going to give us a time check, thank you, my beautiful co-host out there. Obviously, if we were not social distancing, it would be 2 of us having this conversation. But I would just want to give people the opportunity to ask some more questions. So for those who have just joined us or weren't there at the top to understand what we're talking about, Dayna Byfield is a financial wellness educator, and she is providing some really valuable tips about how you can take care of your financial health, and in particular during this crisis, during this time. So any questions? We've got another 5 minutes. Okay.
Another 5 minutes for
questions. Yeah.
Welcome, Coach Carla. Yeah, anyone got any questions that you want us to answer? Any burning questions? Or have we just speeched you all?
And don't think any question is too silly, because you know what? If you're thinking it, so many other people are thinking it.
Yeah, I know it's a sensitive topic and people may not want to answer their particular question online. I suppose a couple of things for me to wrap up. The first one, I know a little bit cheeky, but it is a bit of an appeal. This is a really important subject. This is a really important time. And one of the organizations that I work very closely with, Yes, Literature is Coming, is actually expanding at the moment and looking for people who are potentially wanting to earn an additional income. So if you have someone out there who knows anyone who has an interest in earning, I don't know, an extra kind of £1,000 to £2,000 a month, part-time, maybe 6-8 hours a week working from home, please do message me and I will direct you to the relevant source. In terms of people wanting to get in contact with me, they can direct message me on Instagram. So it's my first and last name, as you can see at the top of the screen under Now Chat Show. Dayna, Ayna Byfield, no space, no underscore, no funny characters. Yeah, just DM me and we can get in contact that way, or you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. With regards to literature, the first thing I would probably say that people should read, well, there's a few things. The first one would be The Richest Man in Babylon.
Richest Man in Babylon.
Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay. I'm just writing it down so people can actually see it.
Yeah. Definitely Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know some people are like, oh, Robert Kiyosaki. You know, the information is sound and solid. Also, another one which most people don't recommend when it comes to finance, it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah, because anything that's best done is best done together. And wealth is a team sport. If you want to build wealth, you need to learn the art of people and how to get people behind a vision and work together and build wealth together. And that's by Dale Carnegie. There is also another book called Your Journey to Financial Freedom.
I'll just put your details up there as well. So Your Journey to Financial Freedom.
Yeah, anyone wants a digital copy of that, if they DM me, I will get one to you. That's a book by Jeff Letts, who was homeless on the streets at 12. And within 6 years, he became